Yeah. Hey. All right. Hey. Yeah, I mean.
So we about to take off.
Hey. Please do remain calm. About to run again, spitting with a little bit of soul, no times.
Welcome to Please Remain Calm. I'm Ben Gonzalez.
And I am Daniel Gonzalez. As always, folks, the opinions expressed here on the Please Remain Calm podcast are our own. They do not reflect the opinions of the Los Angeles City Fire Department or the Los Angeles County Department of Health Services. Welcome back, guys.
Yeah,
Thank you for continuing to listen to the podcast.
Absolutely.
Want to just, we haven't said it in a while, in a couple episodes, but thank you so much for following. Thank you so much for subscribing wherever you subscribe. We've been getting a lot of new listeners, a lot of new subscribers.
Yeah, numbers going up every month, you guys.
Yeah,
Thank
man,
you.
it's awesome. So, you guys are talking about it. Like I've said before, man, every day that I go to the hospital, I'm always kind of asking people, hey, have you ever heard of Please Remain Calm podcast? And half the people now are going, yeah, I listen to that. I'm like, it's one podcast, and they freak out. And I freak out, and, it's cool. It's really cool. So we can see it happening. We can see it growing. Yeah. Really appreciate you guys listening, continuing to listen and stick with us. We've got some amazing guests, including our guest we have today. But if you haven't already, tell your friends about the podcast. If you're not following, you're not subscribed, please hit that button, subscribe, leave comments, rate the podcast. All that stuff helps us to grow the podcast, to get a little more exposure. And that's all we're trying to do, man. Give you guys some good content and get it out to some more people out there in the world.
Yeah. You really tell people, hey, do you listen? Have you heard of?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I'm too shy.
Well, you got to,
I got my car wrapped though with our faces.
You got to,
yeah.
I'm
driving around.
I got the PRC underwear that I wear around.
You know what I mean? But other than that,
But you got to, our main
that's true.
viewership is younger, up and coming EMT guys and gals.
Yeah, and that's who you're running into all the time. Yeah.
Even like Dodger Stadium. Anytime I walk by the EMTs at Dodger Stadium, I'll go, "Hey guys, you guys ever heard of this? Whatever."
That's right.
A couple times they've been like, "Yeah, I listen to that," and sometimes they're not. And I go, "Hey, I got a podcast," and I show them, and that's kind of how it helps spread
That's
the word.
funny because at my office they have PTI. It's the Paramedic Training Institute for LA County, it's a paramedic school for LA County and for all the firefighters and everything. Maybe I need to come in there with T-shirts and stickers. I could be a guest speaker at paramedic school just to plug my podcast.
Dude, we definitely got to start pushing it a little more to people that we know. Hey, before we get any further, I want to talk about our sponsor. Let me grab one. CBD Living Water. You guys know I've said it before 100 times on here that I love drinking water. It's literally all I drink. And so when we started looking for a sponsor and we were approached by CBD Living Water, we were super excited to partner up with them. They use nanotechnology to give you some CBD in here in the water, and it stimulates, it rehydrates you and stimulates your immune system. CBD is
so many benefits.
There's a lot of benefits of CBD, man. I can't even really get into everything. I'm so, excited to be partnered with them and to be using this water. Firefighting is an extremely physically demanding job. I've said it before, being a paramedic, being out running calls. I mean, we average 14 to 15 calls a shift.
And you have to stay alert.
And each call takes about an hour. And who knows what the hell is going to happen on that call. We just had on 4th of July, we had a 46-year-old drowning in a backyard pool. You know what I mean? So we went from eating lunch and just being calm and relaxed to, an hour of working this guy up and doing CPR on the side of a swimming pool. And, you work up a sweat. I'd sweat through my uniform. And so, or we get a fire or something like that, you sweat through your uniform. You have to replenish that stuff. And I've been taking CBD Living Water with me to work. The guys have been drinking it. Everybody loves it. So check them out. It's at CBD Living Water on Instagram. They have a bunch of great CBD products that we're going to be talking about in future episodes of PRC. So check them out, please. CBD Living Water.
100%. Let's wrap that up, though. You got a guy, 46. How do you drown? Do you have a heart attack in the pool or something? Or
I'm just thinking how I should talk about this. Yes. So I'll just briefly cover it because it was a crazy call.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, 46-year-old backyard swimming pool. They were having a party there. They were outside, standard 4th of July barbecue stuff.
Yeah, pool party. Yeah.
Sure, there was alcohol. There was probably some drug use there. But they saw him 10 minutes. They went inside. They came back outside, and he's floating face down in the deep end of the pool.
Damn.
And guy was pretty big. He's probably 260 pounds, 250 pounds. The other guys at the party were able to get him up on the ledge of the swimming pool. And so when we got there, friend was doing CPR. You know, guy was basically purple from his nipples up. You know, dropped down on the ground, intubated. My partner started an IV, got him hooked up to the paddles, asystole on the monitor, so he's completely flatline.
Yeah.
You know, start breathing
Can't do
for him.
anything.
And then we have this new machine. Have you heard of the Lucas machine? It's like a CPR machine. It does compressions for you. Right?
Oh yeah, I've seen those.
And it's
You're using those now?
Yeah.
Gotcha.
We just recently started.
Like
So
a
the
pilot program thing, or
no, it's
You
they're
guys are
out.
doing it? Okay.
Yeah, they're out
Alright.
all over the place. And the EMS captain's the ones that carry them.
okay.
So when you have like a refractory VTAC, like someone's going in, like ventricular tachycardia to asystole and back and forth out of that stuff, you're supposed to call for an EMS captain to come with the Lucas, because that Lucas helps to set that patient up so that they can get him to the hospital and set him up with ECMO, which is a whole nother crazy ass thing that I can't even get into because I don't even fully understand it. But
I know.
it's something that they started doing a lot with like COVID patients and stuff like that. Anyways, they found that they have a stronger chance of survival if they get them on the Lucas and you have good steady CPR throughout.
It can basically like act like as a heart for you while your heart repairs.
Pretty much.
It's
So just so happened the EMS captain was leaving 43s coming into Battalion 4, so he was halfway to the incident when the call went out.
Yeah.
So he attached himself. You know Holt, right? John Holt, my buddy.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
Holt's
he
the
was,
EMS captain now?
yeah, he's an EMS captain. So we're my partner's doing the fireman's doing CPR. You know, I'm on my belly trying to intubate this guy. He's full of water in there. I can barely see the cords, get the tube, you know. Everybody's in their work. And then all of a sudden, Holt's right there with the Lucas. Oh, shit. Like 3 minutes in. So we strapped the Lucas on him. So he's getting good, strong CPR the whole time. Went through like 3 rounds of meds, 3 rounds of epi, push dose epi, sodium bicarb, right? All these meds, shocked him 2 or 3 times. And the whole time.
He was going back into VTAC?
He was in and out.
Oh, okay.
Asystole, VTAC, PEA, which is pulseless electrical activity. So there's electrical activity there, but the heart's not actually pumping, you know, but never really got a pulse back. Right. And we're working him up for like 40 minutes.
I was going to say, yeah, this is long.
And the whole time I'm like, oh, somebody's going to fall in this pool. Because we're like,
You're right on the edge of the pool?
We're right on the edge of the pool working this guy up.
And all the people are still out there?
The whole party's there,
party's
dude.
there.
And his wife is screaming in the background. It was
it's
a crazy,
chaos,
crazy chaotic scene. And so, you know, about halfway through, once we get a couple, you know, get the tube secure, we get the line, push a couple rounds of meds. I got to get on the phone with the base hospital.
Right.
And what happens is the base hospital, MICN, the nurse that answers the phone will go and get the emergency room doctor to come and be on the phone.
It's UCLA, you guys, right?
UCLA, yeah. And we'll all explain everything that's going on. When I stay on the phone and we basically get medical direction from the doctor at the ER, right?
Right.
So we're sitting there, we're going through all these meds and everything. We tried everything. And we got nothing, man. 40 minutes, 3 rounds of meds, you know, and typically we don't transport dead bodies to the hospital, right? So MICN goes, well, the doctor, you know, we're kind of out of ideas here. Does anyone there have any ideas, anything they want to try, right? Which is something they typically ask in the hospital setting too.
That's wild, huh?
Yeah. And I go,
at the end of it, they're like, anybody?
you know, so I'm looking at our box and, you know, this empty box of meds and stuff. And I'm like, you know, no, I don't have any other ideas. I think we've exhausted everything that we have. And they go, okay. And so I ask everyone there, hey, does anybody else have any thoughts or ideas of what we could do for this guy?
And the machine's still going?
Nope. Is the machine still going?
Yeah.
Nope. I go, no, I'm sorry. And she goes, okay. Or do you guys feel comfortable calling it? And I'm like, yeah, you know, I guess that's like what they asked.
That party's still though.
When you know, the person's going to die. And it's like, you know, yeah, we've tried everything, you know? And she goes, all right, time of death, blah, blah, blah. Go ahead and shut off the Lucas. Da, 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 okay, blah, blah, blah. All right, guys, shut it off. So my partner shuts off the Lucas. And when he shuts it off, we see a couple blurps on the monitor and he reaches down and he goes, oh shit, we got a pulse.
Go.
And dude,
no,
5-10 seconds and we would have covered him with the sheet and PD was already there, we would have left. I shit you not, man.
I
It was
know.
crazy. And so he goes, hey, we got a pulse. And so I tell the nurse, I go, oh, hey, we got a pulse.
Oh, they were still
and she
on?
goes, oh, okay. Yeah, I was still on the phone with them.
yeah.
Like, that's how quick
That's
it
how
happened.
fast,
I told him,
yeah,
I go,
yeah.
hey, cut it off. He shuts it off. Oh, we got a pulse. And as soon as
It
we
was
got
a
a pulse,
radial pulse?
no.
Oh, okay.
Karate. As soon as we got a pulse, he just kept getting better. Pulse kept getting stronger, more steady. I'm like, oh shit, okay, boom.
This
get him on.
became a save.
Became a save. Yeah.
The fuck?
So we wind up taking him all the way to UCLA because they were going to put him. They said he's an ECMO candidate.
Well, yeah.
So we take him all the way from Venice to Westwood to UCLA. And by the time we got to the hospital, he was trying to take his own breath.
What?
Yeah, man. Yeah. The only thing is his pupils were still blown, so I'm not sure how how
he
long being
drowned,
down
dude.
if his how well his brain's. I'm actually trying to get some information on him. The past couple
Episode
days.
8, we have the guy
But,
that drowned.
But
You
yeah,
wanna
man.
know more about what that's like.
But yeah, pretty crazy call. It's being a paramedic. The majority of the stuff you go on is bullshit, right?
Mhm.
It's whatever. This guy's asleep on the ground. He's too drunk, or somebody stumbling out of a bar, or my
Yeah.
foot's been hurting for a month, and you're like, okay.
Mhm.
And every once in a while you get these calls where it's like, holy shit, man. Like,
Yeah.
first, not only did I have to pull and use all of my skills, you know what I mean? And sometimes you do that and it's all for naught. You know what I mean?
Yes.
You don't get a positive outcome.
But the rare time that you have a dead guy that is not dead by the time you leave,
Yeah.
that's crazy.
Yeah. And it was interesting to me too, man, all the ducks that needed to fall into a row for him to survive this thing, right?
Yeah.
The fact
like that was like a legit mega code.
oh,
Like the full, like the
legit
test.
with extra little difficult things,
Yeah.
being right next to the pool,
Yeah.
everything,
The whole party there.
everything being wet.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly,
the added
yeah.
stress of the whole party there.
Mhm.
His wife
Yeah.
literally screaming
Fireworks
the whole
going off.
time,
Yeah.
Not to mention everybody's drunk,
Yeah.
and buzzed and everything. So they're a little unruly. I mean, we had like 4 or 5 cops there keeping
Yeah.
everyone back. The captain
Chaotic
keeping everyone
scene,
back.
dude. Yeah.
But we had a good crew. We had good EMTs that
Mhm.
did solid CPR. The EMS captain happened to be right down the street. We got that Lucas on nice and early. Got on the phone with the hospital early. Everything just kind of fell into place.
Yeah, the system worked.
The system worked, and we saved a life. So that was cool, man. That's always cool to have an interesting call like that with a good outcome. Because like I said, sometimes you have a good call like that and everything falls in place and you just don't get a good outcome. And it sucks because
Yes.
not only do I, at that point, like, let's say this guy didn't survive, right? It's one of the worst parts of being a paramedic. Let's say that guy doesn't survive, right?
You were at that point. You called him,
Well,
basically.
Yes.
Yeah.
But like, had he not gotten a pulse
Right,
back,
yeah.
I would have had to turn around and walk over to the wife and say the words, ma'am, I'm sorry, but your husband's passed away. Watch her completely break down, right? Because not only is it suck your husband's dead and he's a young guy, but it's I've talked about it in the past, sudden death, right? That
The worst.
sudden sorrow is the worst. Watching that happen to somebody is the worst part about being a
And
paramedic.
watching their family realize it, that they're not coming back out or not, we're not leaving with them, like.
It's the thing that sticks with me the most. Like when I have trouble sleeping and the gory stuff is like, whatever, okay, that's there. But it's like thinking about the heartbreak that somebody experiences when a loved one passes away, and then you start thinking about like, well, God, what if my family, how would I react if that's shit? It's the worst, dude. So to have something like this happen, to feel like, fuck, man, I'm going to have to go talk to this lady who's been screaming behind me to save her. It's another reason why we like to have the family there watching when we are working somebody up, right? Because let's say ma'am, you got to, no, you don't want to watch this. You push her in the room, and then
Right.
30 minutes later, you come out and you go, hey, sorry, he's dead. She's like, what the hell happened in there? How did he
Exactly.
die or whatever? But when they see me on my belly in the water intubating, when they see my partner starting an IV and pushing medication, when they see everybody rushing and doing their job and quality CPR and all that stuff, it helps to understand that everything that could have been done was done. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, yeah, we had a few interesting calls, but I don't want to take up too much time if we talk to them.
CBD living water, everybody. That's what they drink after they do this stuff. Yeah. That was crazy.
Yeah.
But really, if you are interested in sponsoring the show, where else are you going to get a commercial like that?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Um,
Got a whole crazy story out of that, dude. But that's another thing with this show, with this episode, is that we're getting back to our bread and butter, the original PRC format, a guest that got fucked up. That had something happen to him, you guys. So
yeah, you know, it's one of the things that I love about being a paramedic is there is no real monotony, right? There's every day you get different calls, you get, you know, different shit that happens to people. People get themselves in the
one's a doozy,
funkiest, weirdest situations, right? And you got to just kind of take your skills and everything you've learned over the years and figure out what the best thing is to do for this patient. And so something pretty unique happened to our guest today.
All right, so our guest is a comedian and actor, Jon Kondelik. How you doing, bud?
Hey, how's it going? Great to be here. I always wanted to take my sunglasses off on a podcast and be that fucking guy.
It looked great.
Thanks, bud.
Yeah,
Pulled
nailed
it
it
off perfectly. We had no idea either that that was going to happen. Completely spontaneous moment, only scripted by Jon. Jon had a very unique LA experience, because some calls too are things that you only are going to get on LAFD.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? There's some places you go into,
Yeah.
like we're not going into this.
This ain't happening in the Midwest.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. No volunteer fire department going to get this call in, you know, the fucking sex dungeon. You know?
So, how long have you been in LA? Are you from LA originally?
I've been in Southern California my whole life, pretty much. I've been in other states, you know, maybe a year or two here and there, but mostly I've been in Southern California majority of my whole life. So like I was born in Anaheim. I guess that's not really LA, but maybe Orange County, whatever.
It's definitely not LA.
Yeah, it is to the Angels.
Unless you're on the Angels. Yeah.
Artie Moreno thinks it's LA.
I am technically I am an Angels fan just by birth, you know, but hey. But yeah, been in Southern California my whole life. So I feel like I've always been like a city type guy.
Yeah.
You know, so.
Have you always been actor, comedian? How long ago did you start doing that stuff?
Back in my early 20s, I was wanting to do the acting thing, but I was always embarrassed to admit it. Like, you know, to tell people that I'm an actor. But comedy, you know, I've been doing it for, you know, almost a year now. And that I have no problem telling people I'm a comedian. I don't know why.
Yeah, I don't get that either. Have you ever been embarrassed to tell people you're an actor?
No.
Yeah, right?
No, I love it.
But I've been embarrassed to tell people I'm a comedian.
Are you embarrassed to tell people you're a comedian?
I mean, I have been. You know, it's sometimes like you don't want to just come right out with it and shit. You know what I mean?
I'm not like forthcoming, like, you know, saying, "Hey, do you know I'm a comedian?"
yeah, right. Yeah.
I don't do that, but
introduce myself, Ben Gonzalez, comedian.
Yeah.
I guess I've never really been embarrassed of it because it's always been like my side gig.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And you have a resume. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I don't I'm not bad at it. I've done it. I enjoy doing it. It's just I think there's the pretentious side of it is what always kind of threw me off. And I'm like, I wanted to separate myself from those people.
And
you know?
everybody in LA
sense,
is an actor.
Yeah, true. Yes.
I mean, quite literally, like everybody you meet is in some way or shape or form trying to be an actor.
And there's something about it that I never really liked the lifestyle because, you know, I don't like asking for things.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's all you do as an actor. Whereas in comedy, you can literally do the job that you're supposed to do any day of the week.
Yeah.
You can get up every single night if you want. And really,
and
the onus is on you.
Yeah.
Right. You have control. I'm a control freak. I want the control.
Yeah.
So
comedy, or the writer, director, star. Yeah. Everything.
Exactly.
So,
and, you know, you don't need any special equipment required. It's just, you know, it's just you.
Yeah.
That's what's always been appealing to me.
Yeah, totally.
So, you had something happen to you.
I did.
That is, really unique, man. I've never even really heard of this type of thing happening to anybody before.
Yeah. Like it could happen. You know, it's possible, but you haven't. Yeah.
Yeah. At least to this extent or to this extreme.
Yes. And I've come across like every kind of case and like things like this where it's an extended stay in the unit that he was in.
Sure, yeah.
And I've never had this.
You know, and I've been a medic for 20 years, South Central, Skid Row, you know, Venice for the past 10 years. And I've never had an injury like this or an exposure like this. So,
yeah, dude.
Let's go back to kind of maybe to the very beginning of the story. How did you wind up in this position, in this situation anyways, to begin with?
This was back when I was doing acting, you know, whatever. And it was a short film for a college
a student film.
some student film.
Yeah.
And they were foreign exchange students from Korea at a school here in LA. And I got an audition for it, did it. They liked me, got booked, and they're like, cool. The whole thing of the short was I'm supposed to be playing a guy who loses a couple of fingers, gets them chopped off. And I'm like, okay, not a big deal. It was kind of like that movie. I'll get back. I'll come back to that. There's something I want to.
Did you have an agent or a manager at this time, or you were just kind of submitting yourself for things?
It was just me. Whatever the casting
Sure,
thing
sure,
was
sure.
online and stuff. I can't remember what it was.
Yeah.
But so they said, so you need to go meet up with the makeup artist at their place, and she'll make a mold of your hand, and we'll do the prosthetics and all that stuff. Not a big deal.
So now, was this the makeup artist? Was she a student also, or he a student also, or was this like a reputable?
No, it's definitely not reputable. I think
Okay.
she was a student as well, and
wow.
she was also foreign, so couldn't speak English very well. Like they're all from Korea,
Yeah.
that type of thing.
Yeah.
Whatever. And also doing makeup stuff isn't foreign to me. Going all the way back to high school and stuff like that. Making our little short films and things.
Yeah.
We would always cover ourselves in makeup and liquid latex and all that shit.
Sure.
So that's not, and I can curse, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
cool,
Fuck
cool.
yeah.
Okay, then it's not foreign to me, and but because they didn't speak English very well, I'm like, I know this is going to take a long time, so I asked my brother to come with me just for a good conversation.
Sure. Yeah.
Because I need to talk to someone for
Yeah,
a
you're just
couple
gonna be
hours.
sitting there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be boring. So we go to Koreatown and go to their house, and we're hanging out, sitting at some table. I see in the other room, the makeup artist, she's mixing up some kind of concoction. I'm assuming it's whatever that, the mold is for.
Plaster
Or something like that,
Yeah.
right?
Latex.
It's always like plaster or silicone is
Yeah.
what they use to make that mold impression. So she comes back, and it's in a milk jug that's like cut off on the top.
Yeah.
And it looks all muddy and stuff like that. So all right, I put my hands in it, and because I'm supposed to lose the fingers at the knuckle there,
Yeah.
they have me curl my fingers and kind of like that, and just go in, and so everything's fine. I'm talking with my brother, whatever, and then I started to notice, like a few minutes in, maybe 5 minutes, I started to notice something a little odd, and little change, and I'm like, why does it was cold, now it's starting to feel like just room temperature.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, maybe it's my body heat kind of warming up the thing.
Sure. Yeah.
And then literally it started to get a little bit warmer after the body temperature, enough that I could notice. I'm like, hey, is that normal? And I asked the makeup artist, is this normal? And she puts her finger in at the top of the water to check it, and she's like, oh yeah, that's fine. And it's cold up there. I'm like, no. I grab her hand and I put it on the bottom of the base of the jug. And I'm like, it's a little bit warmer down there, right? And she's like, oh yeah, that's normal. And I'm like, all right.
How long had your hand been in here at this point?
5 minutes, I'd
5
say.
minutes, yeah.
5 minutes,
Okay.
roughly. And then literally as soon as I said that, after she said, oh yeah, that's normal, literally just a couple seconds later, that's when everything skyrocketed.
Oh, no shit.
Yeah. And that's when there's a chemical. So I jump up and I'm like, holy shit, this thing's fucking burning me.
Yeah.
And she's like freaking out. Everything's chaos.
How
And
fast was it? From like a few seconds, and it just starts burning?
It was literally a few seconds. Like as soon as after she checked the bottom, and I'm like, it's a little like lukewarm here. And she's like, everything's normal. That's what. A couple seconds later, skyrocketed. Someone just like turned on the burner, and
Damn.
I jump up. Oh
Wonder
my
what
god,
the
it's
science is
fucking
behind that.
reaction.
it's fucking burning me. Everyone's freaking out, and she's like, oh, it's not supposed to happen like this. And I'm like, she's freaking out, and I'm like, okay, well, fuck this. Time to get this out now. And so I go to pull my hand out, and that's when I realize it's stuck.
Oh shit.
And whatever I had just put my hand in is now hardened, and it is burning me. And because I did this,
Yeah.
I've now anchored myself in this fucking
man.
thing. So
Yeah,
what
you're
the
hooked
material?
on there.
Yeah.
Whoa.
So the material is hard, and I realized this is like a cement block, that they put my hand in, and that's what the chemical reaction was.
You're just burning inside.
When the chemical reaction happened, it cures it to solidify it, and it skyrockets. So now it feels like my hand is in a deep fryer.
Oh
shit! And there's nothing you can do about it. It's just stuck in there.
Not much, and everyone's freaking out. And I'm like, it was almost comical because I'm like lifting up my hand. You know those mob movies, like the gangster movies from the 30s or whatever. You have the cement blocks on their feet. It was like that, and I'm like literally just fucking banging it on the thing, and I'm like, this is ridiculous, and everyone's freaking out. Remarkably, I'm not freaking out. I'm in a lot of pain, but I'm just like still in survival mode, I guess, and level-headed. And so I'm yelling at her, telling her to calm down, please remain calm. But I'm telling her like, shut up, stop, think.
Yeah.
What do we do?
Yeah.
What do we have? And the oddest thing, people, whenever I tell this story, everyone asks me, did you ever, why didn't you call the 911 or the paramedics? Never even crossed our mind.
Really?
It was just so much chaos happening immediately that everyone was just trying to get this thing to stop. You know what it is? It's like, you ever see, a kid or something gets trapped in a fucking escalator, and it's like, or whatever, something that's happening like immediate. No one else is thinking about calling for help. They're just trying to stop.
Trying to fix the problem.
Pull you out of the quicksand.
Yeah, exactly. So it was like that. And
what was the consistency of it at that point? Because I mean, was it hard like concrete? Like, was it that hard?
Oh yeah.
So you're banging it on the table, and
and I'm
happening?
like, clunk clunk, and I'm like, this is ridiculous. So we need to chisel this thing out.
Crazy.
So one of the guys there, I don't know what his role was on the film, but anyway, he runs into the next room, comes back in, and he has two tools. He has a very janky hammer and a Phillips screwdriver. Not even a fucking flat screwdriver, and I'm like, oh my God, this is insane. And I'm like, all right, let's go. And we're swinging on this thing, and the top of the hammer keeps breaking off the handle. I'm not kidding. And we have to keep, we have to keep putting it back on. And it's exhausting. We're all trying to chisel this thing. And because it's a Phillips, it's just making a little hole, and it, if flat, it probably would have gotten out sooner. But
now, is the temperature continuing to rise, or did it spike and it's just here now? It's just hot.
It spiked and plateaued and just stayed there. And so we're swinging at it. Within the first 10 minutes, I've lost the feeling to my fingers. Like I could, like the tips, because I could still kind of like feel, whatever, and I can kind of move them. But after 10 minutes, I can't feel it past like, my knuckles or whatever. And it's still pain. Like, the top half of my hand is in a ton of pain there. So we're still swinging. It's fucking exhausting. Everyone is taking a crack at this thing. Like,
Jesus.
Are they chipping it at all, or
we're chipping it? But like I said, it's like trying to how do you chisel something by just making little holes?
Yeah.
Whereas
calling for help has not entered the conversation.
No.
Okay.
Still not at all.
Yeah, you need to crack it and split it.
We need to split it with the like a something flathead
chisel. Yeah.
Exactly. Doing it with this little fucking Phillips is not doing anything. So
yeah, even the maintenance guy in the building or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, it was just
when you're in the mix.
It was a house.
How crazy.
It was a house. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So it was crazy, man. And
how much time is passing at this point that you guys are?
It's
hammering holes into
the whole time was 30 minutes.
Oh man.
So
damn, dude.
Little by little, the loosest part of my hand was my thumb. That was, I was like, okay, I'm wiggling it. I think I could get it out. And we chisel away at it a little bit. And I'm like, all right, there's enough there that I can just rip it out now. And so they hold on to it, and I rip my thumb out, and I'm like, oh, this feels so much better. And I look down, and the skin on my thumb had flapped up.
Oh, Jesus.
And I grab it, and I pull it back down. And that's when it really got real for me. And I'm like, okay, we really need to get this out because it's bad.
Yeah.
It's going to get worse. This is nothing on my thumb, and it's going to get a hell of a lot worse now.
And your pain level at this point on a 1 to 10 scale?
Oh, a fucking 12, dude. Yeah, it was the worst thing ever.
Is it shooting up your arm now too, or it's just still staying at your hand?
No, it's in my hand, I think. I don't remember it shooting up my arm, but
burns are like
just
the most painful injury that you could get to, man.
Oh yeah,
it's bad, because it's not even just the spot that's getting burned, because you might have like a full thickness burn or a 2nd degree burn on a certain part, but the part adjacent to it also will have a little bit lesser burn. So those burns, you know what I mean? Even if you have a full thickness and you don't really have filling there, it's all the areas that are right next to it have 2nd degree and 1st degree burns and stuff.
Definitely.
And the pain just hangs with you, man.
It was nuts. And so I really wished I passed out, but my body wouldn't let me.
Yeah.
It was nuts. So I kind of just sort of gave up because I was so exhausted on the swinging.
Yeah.
And the guy who got the hammer and screwdriver, he kind of took over, and I just we're on a counter in the kitchen, and I'm just sort of bent over and just have my head and my arm so tired.
And nobody's called 911 still
no,
at this point. Okay.
Not at all.
Yeah.
Like I said, it felt
no, not at all.
It felt like, it's weird. It felt like it was a long time, but at the same time it wasn't.
Yeah.
And so I don't know why no one called. Probably because they were also maybe freaked out about getting in trouble or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
But so he took over, and I just can feel as I have my head and my arm that like, okay, and I can hear them talking. Chisel. Okay, we got the next finger, and I can feel him grabbing my finger. And at this point, like, it doesn't even, the pain is almost like numbing at this point. I can just feel my finger very lightly, and he just grabs it, pulls it out, moves it aside, chisel, next finger, got it, and then pinky was the last one to go. At that point, after the thumb, I didn't want to look, because the thumb, I was like, okay, it's going to be this was nothing.
It's gonna be bad.
This is going to be worse.
Yeah,
that's what would have had you pass out.
Yeah. And so they got it out. They're like, okay, it's out. And I'm like, cool. Give me a paper towel or something like to wrap this in.
Yeah.
And me and my brother got our stuff and got the hell out of there. And we're like, where's the nearest hospital? And we were in Koreatown, and so the nearest one was literally a mile away.
The Hollywood Press or something?
It was
worse, dude.
It was is it Olympia? Is that what it was?
Oh, you went to Olympia.
Yeah, you went to Olympia,
okay.
dude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so we get into the ER there. I'm sitting at the chair with my hand wrapped up. My brother goes to talk to the woman at the desk there. Hey, my brother needs help. He's been burned. Whatever. Okay, fill out these stack of papers. And that's when I lost it, because they want us to fill out all this stuff. Yeah. And that's when I'm like, oh my fucking God, bitch. Get me the fuck in there right now. And she's like, oh.
She's like, wait, hey, hold on a second. Don't talk to me like, let me see your hand. Go!
Yeah, she's like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. So then the nurse comes out like, Jonathan, and I'm like, yeah, okay, great. And I rush on in, and she's like, can you step on this scale, please? And I'm like, oh my God. I said, I weigh this much, I'm this tall, I'm not allergic to shit, let's go. And she's like, sir, I don't like you talking to me in that tone, because I just I'm asking you these questions so you don't go into a coma. And I'm like, fuck you, and so we go into the exam room. And as soon as the doctor sees it, that reaction, right? They're like, oh fuck, this is
especially
not
at that hospital, because they're not equipped to deal with something like that.
We quickly found
like
that
for
out.
reference, it's not even a hospital anymore. Like I think they're making it into condos.
Yeah,
that's
insane. They close it down. Yeah,
and it's a trip too, because geographically, it should be a good hospital there. You know what I mean?
Like,
it's in a very nice area, surrounded by nice stuff. It's right by LACMA and the Peterson and stuff. Yeah. But for some reason, it was just, they changed the name. It was a different name before, and just it never really,
Yeah, it was Midway before.
I don't know what it is. Yeah.
Some hospitals are just basic, low, I hate saying low level, but they're, they can only handle basic stuff.
Yeah.
Like our main hospital in Venice is Marina Del Rey Hospital. It's the same kind of deal. They're Cedars bought them, and they're, rebuilding the hospital right now. But for the past decade that I've been there, it's a small hospital. And if you have anything with the head, if you have anything with the, a good burn or any kind of trauma or anything like that, taking them there is just a waste of time. or a cardiac event, a STEMI or something like that.
And
It's just a waste of time because they can't handle it.
Funding from the city, or what is that? Like,
Who
funds hospitals?
There's a lot of factors.
A lot of them are private.
A lot of them are private.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
There's only like 4 hospitals that are operated like by the county.
Got it.
And everything's for profit. You know what I mean? So, when you get more money, they got to figure out where they're going to put that money, and it's not always to overall improving the hospital.
I see.
But also,
I would like to touch on real quick. If you take a CPR first aid class, one of the main things that they teach you is the first thing before you even start CPR is send somebody to go call 911 and then come back and tell me that you did so that I know it's done. And so for everyone listening out there, anything like this happens, any kind of crazy event or anything that's out of the ordinary, or you see somebody hit by a car, or, you see a kid fall out of a window, and your first instinct is to go and intervene and help somehow. Take the time to either tell somebody, if you're trained and you can go help immediately, great. Hey, go call 911. Come back and let me know that you did. Because what'll happen is you'll say, hey, go call 911. And that person will go, okay. And I'll turn, and then someone will go, what happened? I'll go, this fucking kid just fell out of a window. And where? It's over here. And they come back, and you turn around and he's standing there. Did you call 911? Oh, no, I didn't, So especially in your instance, right? Your hand's stuck in there. I'm sure you guys were thinking like, oh, we'll get this out, right? And then, oh shit, now it's cement. Oh shit, the hammer's on. Oh shit, the hammer broke. Who the hell knows what's going to happen in those situations that may prevent you from, mitigating the problem.
And had we called, that they were only a mile away, so it could have been a different outcome for sure. So I don't even know why.
Air chisels. I mean, they got everything to attack that thing and get it off your hand.
We talk a lot of times about what to not call 911 for, but call for this.
Definitely. So we're in the emergency room. We showed them, and this is also the first time I've seen my fingers since getting it in. And you guys, Marvel fans, you ever see Captain America? You remember Red Skull?
Yeah.
So all my skin was sort of you ever get a straw and you smush the paper all the way down to the bottom of the plastic straw? Yeah, it's all crumpled up. That was my skin
on your fingers,
on my fingers at the very tips, just kind of all just squished.
It's called a degloving injury.
Yes. So it was that, or as I like to call it, it looked like a used condom, and just hanging off the tip there. Yeah. So it was great.
Yeah.
And everything underneath was just bright red, like Red Skull. So that was fantastic. I was in a ton amount of pain still, and it never stopped. I feel like it just stayed at that plateau from being in there. Even when I was
anything in there.
Was that?
They didn't give you anything?
I think they gave me some morphine,
right?
but that wasn't making a fucking
touch.
dent.
Oh, shit.
Didn't make a dent.
Well, I mean, you got to figure, man, your fingertips and your fingers and hands can feel, a single hair on a smooth surface. I mean, when you talk about nerves and you talk about feeling and stuff like that, of all the places on your body, your fingertips are the most sensitive. So you have all those nerve endings there. So you can imagine.
But it never occurred to me though how severe it was. Because like you were saying, could be second degree, whatever.
Sure.
That's
and
also
you hadn't
like
looked
surface level or whatever and stuff. And this was
and you're hoping for the best.
I'm hoping for the best, and like I'm just thinking like, okay, I just lost the first layer or whatever, and we'll be fine. So that's when they told me, we're not a burn unit. We don't have one. We need to get you in the ambulance and transport you to West Hills to Grossman Burn Center. And I'm like, all right. I'm in the ambulance again, and not again, for the first time, and we hit traffic on the 405. They're giving me morphine still. I'm in still a shit ton of pain. They keep asking me
this
my
is
pain
a
levels.
private ambulance that took you over there, or?
I don't
Probably.
know.
Yeah,
maybe.
Yeah, okay.
Whatever they were using, I would assume so.
Yeah,
and it was just the morphine just was not mitigating the thing at all, and it took forever to get there because of the traffic on the 405. It was midday, I think. Yeah. And then no, actually it wasn't. It was towards, so it was the rush hour traffic of the evening.
Yeah.
That's because
we just got no breaks at all on this thing.
Because I remember when we got to Grossman, it was nighttime. So and we were dealing with the night shift. So anyway, get checked in there. I'm there for 5 weeks,
Oh,
and
wow.
you know, I had like 5 surgeries of them trying to save my fingers. They try different stuff.
They graft skin there.
Yeah, eventually they had graft skin and stuff like that, but initially they were trying to save the fingers.
Yeah.
So they were trying different things. I can't remember the other methods. One of them I remember was they attached some kind of vacuum suction things on the tips of my fingers to try to get some kind of blood flow to my fingers.
Yeah.
And what is it called? There was a pouch that was catching whatever excess
like a wound
stuff.
vac.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
Like
So
whatever.
a drain.
Yeah, and they kept checking that and hoping for the best, and they wanted it to be kind of full.
Yeah.
And it wasn't.
Yeah. So you just weren't
Yeah.
getting flow there. Huh?
And that's when they're like, okay, this isn't good. And then they came back and they said that your joints, you have 4th degree burns. That's charred bone.
Yeah.
And your joints are destroyed, your blood vessels are destroyed, everything is just dead. And they're like, we're just gonna have to amputate them. I was initially thinking I was just gonna lose the tips of my fingers. I'm like, cool, I don't like trimming my nails anyway. Fuck that. And so when they told me we're gonna have to lose everything, that's when it was like really like huge gut punch.
And you were how old when this
I'm
happened?
20. So this December 2011. So I was 22.
Wow, man.
Yeah.
Heartbreaking.
Damn.
Yeah. And so that's when I'm like, what? You know, I'm also irrational at this point. I think my life is over. You know, there goes any kind of career, and you know, automatically I'm thinking like, cool, now I'm useless. I can't do stuff or whatever.
You
And
right-handed or left-handed?
I'm right-handed, so thank goodness for that. But I forgot to mention the pain. They did give me Dilaudid, which is great.
That's the good stuff.
That's the good stuff.
Yeah.
Like, oh my God, you're going into another planet on that. You just sink into the sunken place on that shit.
Yeah, you probably have the drip.
Oh,
Yeah.
it was. I kept like hitting the fucking thing. You know, I'm like, can we keep this going? You know, but they had to monitor me because that's easily addictive, and you know, and my blood oxygen level isn't that great anyway. Like, I don't breathe. Like, I don't take big breaths. You know, I find myself not breathing sometimes.
It's a small breather.
And then the apparently going on the painkillers, it slows it even more.
Depresses,
Yeah. And so they had to hook me up to some kind of monitor thing that if my blood oxygen level drops below a certain level, then it makes a noise. And every time I tried to sleep, it kept waking me up because, you know, that oxygen level kept dropping. So that was frustrating.
Yeah.
But, you know.
So 5 weeks in Grossman.
Yeah. And
then,
this is over Christmas, over New Year's.
Oh,
and
damn.
So we go in for the final surgery to amputate. I'm thanking all the doctors in the operation room, just like, thanks for trying.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm thinking like everything's gonna be gone. When I wake up, Grossman's there and he says, hey, I was able to save like half of your index, so you at least have something to grab onto. And I'm like, all right, well, I guess that's something.
Yeah.
You know, I can still grab on stuff. Yeah. But after that, it was so painful to try to recover from that. You know, dealing with changing bandages and shit like that. My hand looked like a catcher's glove. It was so swollen, and my finger, they took a skin graft from my leg, put it on my finger. My finger looked like ground beef, you know. For a while there, after it was healing, when I was at home, this tip was so swollen. You can kind of see this line still. There's this, you see that?
Yeah.
Yeah. It was swollen, and it kind of had like a mushroom head, so it kind of looked like a dick, which was fun. It still kind of does at times. So whenever anyone was asleep around me, like my brother or something, I always put it on his mouth and take a picture of it.
Your finger gets aroused.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Just squirt him with like lotion and stuff. But
where they took the graft from, how was that healing up? Was that, I mean, just as painful as
it was? Not even comparable.
Close,
It was painful, but it was, you know, doesn't even compare. But it was sore. They took it from my thigh. It was a square.
Yeah.
I remember going back home. My dad was so distraught that he's not an emotional guy at all. He's just more, he kind of just buries it. But he was trying to comfort me. I was in bed. and I'm like now having like withdrawals from the Dilaudid to just normal, whatever bullshit Tylenol they gave me, and I'm like, this is doing nothing, dude.
Tylenol, codeine, or
yeah. And that's what it was. It was like Tylenol 3 or something or whatever.
Taking 6 at a time.
Scissor.
And so I'm just in bed screaming, losing my mind, and just in pain. My dad's trying to comfort me, and he puts his hand on my thigh, and I'm like, "Oh, Dad, what are you doing?" And he's like, "Oh shit, I'm so sorry."
Oh man, poor guy.
Yeah. So it took a while. They did want me in the hospital longer. That was something that was interesting. After all the surgeries and the putting me in the oxygen. What was that? The oxygen. Thank you.
Yeah.
That thing. I was fed up, and I was sort of willing myself to get out. I'm like, I want to leave like tomorrow.
Yeah.
Like, we're good. And they're like, we think you should stay a couple more weeks. I'm like, yeah, I'm leaving though. And same thing with they didn't want me working for 6 months, and I said, I'll give you 2.
Yeah.
So I went back to work in February of that year. My finger is still wrapped up.
What were you doing at the time?
So before I was doing nothing, I think. Yeah. And just doing acting stuff and whatever job I could find at the time. And my brother was working for an independent film studio in Burbank. It's the company that made like Sharknado and stuff, a lot of Sci-Fi Channel stuff. Yeah. So they knew me. I hung out there a lot, and that was also kind of part of the plan, was just to hang out and meet people, and eventually you'll get a job.
Sure, yeah.
So they heard about the accident, and they sent me a nice card and whatever. And I think they maybe called me or whatever, and basically said like, hey, you don't need fingers to to act in any of our movies. So just when you're ready, you can come back.
Oh, sweet.
And so I got a job there working in casting as well.
Oh, cool.
And,
nice.
Yeah.
So wait, are you in Sharknado 2? Any of the Sharknado franchise?
I was on set for Sharknado. I can't remember if I'm in it. I'm probably was. They threw a lot of people in there. I was also sort of like an unofficial writer on some stuff.
Oh, wow.
Not like
right.
I say unofficial lightly, because everything was so chaotic. The script kept changing. And
wait, you're saying there was turmoil in the making of Sharknado?
Yeah, you would be fucking surprised. And wow. Or maybe not. I don't know. It was one of those things. Back then, it was called Shark Storm. That's what the
Shark Storm,
what the company came up with.
Yeah,
and they pitched it to
Terrible
Sci-Fi.
Name.
Right? Are you kidding me?
They pitched it to Sci-Fi. And they said, that's so funny. We have the exact same idea, except we're calling it Sharknado.
What?
And
there were 2 Sharknados
that's
competing.
Crazy.
And well, they just blended the 2. They're like, oh, we're thinking alike. Let's have you do it, and we'll call it Sharknado. And every director said no. No one wanted to work on it, which shocker, I guess.
Yeah, right.
But it's idiotic. What does that mean? What do you do with Sharknado? I don't know. And so it took forever to find a director, but even worse, it took forever to find a cast. We were casting that thing for I don't even know how many months, but it was several dozen lead actors that kept saying no, and eventually down the line we got the cast that we got.
Little did they know it'd be such a success.
Right? Several dozen leads.
So this student film that all this happened because of.
Yeah.
Did the school have any kind of insurance for their films that they're making
They did. And what was really interesting was and crazy was they fled the country.
The students.
Yes.
Really?
I mean, smart.
I guess so.
I mean, if I'm them, I guess.
Yeah, they came to the hospital and they're like,
sorry, burned your hand off.
But I'm like, I don't want to see them. Like whatever nurse, they're like, these people want to say to see you, and I'm like, fuck them. Like I don't want to see them.
Yeah.
Like no animosity to them now, but just at the time, I'm like, yeah, I don't want to.
Yeah.
Not needed. I'm just gonna get mad. Yeah. And so after that stuff, the insurance stuff happened. There was some stuff that we got out of that, but you know, whatever. I definitely don't recommend giving money to a 22-year-old. That's for sure.
Yeah.
It's a bad idea.
Yeah, man. If had you guys called 911 right at the beginning, first of all, you probably would have gotten a truck company or an engine company with some tools that would have helped you out.
Yeah.
But for us, like typically a burn injury will go to the closest hospital because they're worried if you got burned, there's a potential you could have inhaled something superheated.
Sure.
Chemical burns aren't as frequent as thermal burns that you get from whatever the hell, fire or whatever. And so the ultimate concern is that you've inhaled something, and when you inhale something superheated or smoke gets in your throat or lungs, that will swell up over the first short amount of time.
That's crazy.
So they want you to go to the closest so that they can make sure your airway is stable, and then they'll transfer you to the burn center. Now, in your situation, that's the other thing with being a paramedic is like you're taught all these things, right? And all these protocols and stuff like that, right? But in actuality, who the hell knows what you're going to run into? So you have to be flexible you have to look at the situation as a whole, look at all your policies, look at the department's policies, the county's policies, and figure out what is the best thing to do for this patient.
I didn't even get to the best part.
Go for it.
Here's the best part. So I jumped to nearly 10 years later. This is a few months ago. I'm at the Comedy Store, and I see Quentin Tarantino there, and we're hanging out with him. Me and some buddies, we're talking to him, and
yeah, I saw guys post when he was there. Yeah,
yes,
that's right. Okay.
I was with those guys.
Okay,
and we're in the back patio, the private patio at the store, hanging out with him. They say never meet your heroes. I think it's never meet your heroes when you're high on edibles. I was high on edibles, whatever. But during my high, I realized I was like, oh my God, something snapped and connected to me. I'm like, how did I not make this connection? And I said to him, you are responsible for me losing my fingers. and what?
Yeah.
And I tell him the whole story
Record scratch
of how it goes down. And I said they were inspired. Their short film was literally doing the exact same thing of what you did in your film in 4 Rooms. I don't know if you ever saw 4 Rooms.
Yeah.
In Quentin Tarantino's story, there was a bet made: can you light your lighter so many times?
Yeah.
If you mess up, you get the chop. Right.
Chop your finger out.
Literally,
Yeah.
the same thing that was happening in this.
Oh,
and
right.
granted, and Tarantino's story was inspired by Steve McQueen, Alfred Hitchcock Presents. And I told him this, and he's like, okay, well, there's no fucking way they saw the Hitchcock thing. So they definitely saw my thing. So it was definitely me, and
you took credit for it.
And I said, but I told him that, and I said, but I'm glad it did. I'm glad you're responsible for this happening, but I'm glad it did happen. And here's why. A couple of reasons. One, if it didn't happen to me, there was a girl there, a young little Asian girl who was going to be in the film, and she was supposed to have her hand missing in the film, and she showed up late after me, and she had her hand in that stuff up to her wrist. Oh my God. And as soon as I jumped up screaming, she pulled her hand out.
Oh,
and it didn't cure yet. So thank God for
Thank
that.
God.
Wow.
Then because of this, if it wasn't for this, I wouldn't have gotten the job at that studio. And if it wasn't for that studio, I wouldn't have met my wife. And if it wasn't for my wife, I wouldn't be doing comedy. So really, it's because of Tarantino that all these.
Then you wouldn't be here.
Exactly. And it's all because of Quentin Tarantino. So thank you, Quentin Tarantino.
Yeah, thank you.
It's so crazy how that works out in life, man.
Right?
And I told him that I all those things, and he's like blown away by it. And he's like, wow, I think that calls for it. And he just gets up and he gives me the biggest fucking bear hug.
Oh,
he
it's
was
awesome.
so
Crazy.
fucking cool, and insisted we take a picture, but I didn't want to, but he insisted. But
You
it
did.
was really, really cool.
Did you take the picture?
Oh, fuck yeah.
Okay.
He'd be if he insists, you do it.
What are you doing?
But-
yeah.
You got to send us that.
It was amazing.
So one day you're getting your fingers burned, then a few years later you're meeting your wife on the set of Sharknado.
Not exactly on this set, but we shared an office building. Yeah, that's how we met. She's not in the film business.
I'm glad you brought all that up, man, because that's one thing about being a medic is you meet people in these like fucked up situations in their life, and then a lot of times we'll mitigate whatever the immediate problem is, and then I'm right in the back of an ambulance with them for however long. If we're going to the trauma center, it might be 20 minutes, getting over to Westwood and in traffic or whatever. And so you have these conversations with people, man. And I've been through some shit in my life. You know what I mean? I've had ups and downs just like everybody else. Things happen to me that seemed insurmountable at the time. And I always have these conversations like, hey, man, this sucks, but hey, you're alive. You know what I mean? Nobody lost their life here. There's nowhere to go but up from me. I'm always trying to like give people a little boost, like whatever the fuck just happened. It's like, this sucks, but hey, dude, it could be worse. You know what I mean? You never know where this is going to lead you to. And that's a perfect example. You always feel like you wound up, or a lot of times you feel like you wind up in a place and you're like, damn, how the fuck did I get here? And you look back at your life and it's like, if you zigged where you should have zagged, or if this would have happened when this actually happened, your life could be in a totally different spot.
Yeah, and it back when I was in the hospital, I was in a very dark place, and there was a switch that had happened when they call them burn survivors, not burn victims. This burn survivor came in to meet me and talk to me, tell me his story. Guy was like burned over like 80% of his body and 30-degree burns, whatever. Really nice guy. And then it was because when he told me his story, I was able to tell him my story, and I actually felt like someone can relate, because everyone else is trying to relate and tell you you're fine or you're doing better or whatever. And I'm like, you don't know how I'm feeling. No one knows how I'm feeling. And so when that guy told me his thing, and we had a nice connection, and he said something to me that just kind of was so obvious and silly when I say it now, but at the time it just clicked, and I'm like, oh, right. And he said, basically what he told me is, you can still live. And that's when I'm like, oh, right.
Yeah.
As soon as that happened, it's literally like someone turned on a light switch and just illuminated all the darkness that I was sitting in.
Yeah.
Because I was literally just like sort of just going in on myself, just, imploding. Right. And that's when it switched everything for me. And I'm like, oh, okay. And I'm going to choose to be happy now.
Yeah.
And
I mean, a lot of times major things like that happen to people, and it just like completely changes your perspective on life. It completely changes the way you look at things that seem like they were super important, and used to piss you off to all end, or whatever the hell it is, just doesn't seem that damn important anymore. And the small things, people that you love, friends that you care about, all that stuff is what you realize is really important.
That's how they say death is the greatest teacher.
Yeah.
Thankfully, I haven't learned that lesson.
But you were like staring at, what you thought was going to be the end of your life as you knew it, and then it leads you to your life now as you know it. Yeah.
And fortunately for me, I have like an upbeat attitude, and I bounce back so easily, which is surprising. There was some downs, emotional downers that I brick walls I had to hit in the recovery period, but nothing compared to what other people have dealt with. And also, like, I joke about it in my act and stuff, but like for a brief moment in my life, I thought like, oh, this is the worst thing ever. And then I stopped and realized, I'm like you were saying, things could be so much worse. And I'm like, dude, there are other people that are literally missing arms, legs, like half their body, whatever. This is nothing. This is bitch shit.
Another thing I try to like keep in mind a lot is that like stuff, you get the sense of like, why did this happen to me? You know what I mean? Why did this happen to me? Like it was meant to happen to me or whatever. And over the years, I've realized that shit just fucking happens. Just like you said, it could have been you. It could have been that little girl had she gotten there 10 minutes earlier or whatever before you. And for me, at least, life for me changed when I stopped kind of focusing everything on me and going, fuck, man, why did this happen to me? Why is this guy being an asshole to me? It's just like shit just happened. It's all about how I react to stuff. I mean, obviously this is a pretty significant thing and it sucks at the beginning, but it's like, you know, it could have turned you into a deep depression that could have turned you to drugs and ruined your life. You know what I mean? Or, you know, it could, that guy kind of flipping that switch on you and realizing, yeah, I can still live, and getting kind of pumped up about life again and going, okay, this ain't the end for me.
Yeah.
It's a fork in the road that you can take. You know what I mean?
Sometimes I feel like that it was supposed to happen, so the girl doesn't, you know, get the thing, you know, have her life ruined, and that would have been more devastating for her. Absolutely, you know, losing a hand. But also then, like, that was supposed to happen to me so I could meet my wife and I can have my girls, and like ultimately I keep thinking I'm always being tested in life, and like, or what's the lesson I'm supposed to learn. And I feel like it ultimately, like, I got stuck in a hard place so I can soften my personality by having my girls, you know?
Sure, man. Yeah.
And do you know what I mean?
Totally, dude.
It's stuff like that. And I feel like there's always these things that keep presenting. I'm more of a signs guy, you know, like I think things are thrown my way, and especially when things get hard in my life, I always feel like, well, this is just a test to see how much I truly want something.
Yeah.
You know, and I never really like go, oh, why me? It's just like, this is just a lesson or a test you just have to work harder on whatever the thing may be.
Yeah.
Right. You know, so that's sort of what I've kind of got out of this whole experience was just.
I'm glad you said that, man. Cause like,
great.
and we're getting close to the end here, but, I feel that way too. I feel like I'm a signs guy too. And I haven't always been, but, when I started learning more about like upper dimension, like fourth dimension, fifth dimension, that type of stuff, right? I kind of feel like my life is already a whole, right? And I'm just kind of cruising through it, and I'm just able to see it as it goes along, right? But I feel like I'm this whole, and I do feel like as I'm going through my day, there's little things that if I'm veering off of the path of what my life, there's just little bumpers that kind of bump me back into place, whatever the hell it may be.
It's like, hey, maybe you shouldn't be doing that.
Yeah, sometimes I'll be driving to whatever, you know, I have an idea or I have a plan for the day, and I go, I'm going to go over here and get whatever. I'm not going to eat this. I'm going to go get McDonald's or whatever. And I hit 3 red lights in a row, you know, on this street. And it's like,
I believe that 100%.
All right. I get you. You know what I mean? And I'll turn back to my original plan. Like, okay, that was a dumb idea.
And sometimes if you're like, nope, I'm still going to go, then you regret it. And it's going to, you know, hit you even worse.
Every damn time. You know what I mean? And then I think
like,
back to, you know, eat the Big Mac or whatever. And I feel like shit. And I'm like, God damn, I shouldn't have done that. And then I think back to there was like 3 or 4 signs that I shouldn't have done this shit.
There have been times where, you know, you don't want to do like wasteful spending, and it's like, oh, hey, you know, you get presented these certain things, like whether it's red lights or like, oh, this ATM isn't working properly.
Yeah.
Right.
It's not
And I'm
my
like,
pin. Yeah.
And I'm like, that's odd. That's happened to me so many times in my life, and I definitely believe in that.
And there's definitely, I mean, I can pinpoint times in my life where I've seen those things happening, and I've thought, damn, is that a sign? And I go, you know, screw this, and I keep going ahead with whatever bullshit I was doing at the time, you know. And it wasn't until I made that active decision to pay attention to the signs that are given me, and we're going into something completely different, a whole nother episode, but pay attention to those signs. I'm not saying it works for everybody, but I've been through a lot of shit in my life. I've seen a lot, you know, our guest has seen a lot and has been through a lot, and just general advice. If you're going through life and you feel like the universe has given you a sign that you should or shouldn't do something, just listen to that shit. Listen to that shit.
Yeah.
It'll more times than not steer you in the right direction. That inner compass that you have.
100%.
This was a hell of an episode.
Great episode.
We got right back to the roots of the show. We had somebody who had something crazy happen to them. They tell the story. So that's like the overarching theme here is, you know, let the listeners know crazy shit can happen. You can survive. You can get through it. You know what I mean? It's not the end of the world. And when you hear other stories of, you know, other people had crazy shit that happened to them like you, it helps other people get through things, man.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
and
cool.
CBD water.
CBD
that
water.
and
Make sure you
CBD
get that in
water.
there.
Jon Kondelik. Where can they find you, dude?
Instagram, Jon Kondelik.
All right.
Everywhere on social media is just Jon.
He was
Jon
nice
Kondelik.
to leave us some of his merch. I'll hold it up here. He's very clever. You got your Jon Kondelik Fingered Me stickers, all right, which are available at JonKondelik.com.
JonKondelik.com. But, you know, they're actually for free. Just DM me and I'll send that shit to you.
All right.
Yeah.
Or put them on your podcast. I'll give them to you. Kondelik my balls.
Yeah. Put
All
that
right.
one on your bumper right there.
Sorry,
folks.
Mom.
You guys can find me at DannyGonzo34 on Instagram and Twitter.
Follow me at Ben9Humor, Ben number 9 Humor, like benign tumor, on Instagram and Twitter. Follow our show at PRC Pod on Instagram and Twitter, or at PRC Podcast on TikTok. Email us, contactprcpod@gmail.com. Hit us on YouTube as well. PRC Podcast, right? PRC Pod?
Something like that.
Something like that.
Please
There's not a lot of
remain
other PRC pods that they're going to
You'll find us. Just type in Please Remain Calm.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? You'll find it, all right? And
Follow our sponsor, please, CBD Live and Water, at CBD Live and Water on Instagram. They've got a bunch of great CBD products.
all right. Thank you to Mark and Top Tree Studios, and we are out of here.
See you guys.